The Heist. On our second ride out to St. Mary's, the three of us scoped out the perimeter for vulnerabilities. We found a spot behind the chapel where, if you're skinny or little enough, you could squeeze between two fence posts. Butch was tall, but he was bone skinny. He could definitely fit through. The trickiest part was getting the message to Butch. When we finally did see him outside, we could never get his attention without drawing attention to ourselves. Then Mamie gets a brilliant idea. Why don't we write him a note, wrap it around a rock, and you huck it at him, Linda, she says. Just don't hit him too hard with it and make sure no one else sees. We hunt around for a softball-sized rock and find the perfect one. I had the piece of paper. Mamie used a hairband to secure it to the rock, and we used June's eyeliner to write the note itself. After Mamie finished writing the note, she wrapped it around the rock, secured it with the hairband, and handed it over to me. We moved from our communication spot in the woods and carefully creeped towards the fence surrounding the compound. I still had extremely poor eyesight, even with the contact lenses that I'd been wearing by that time. Is that one him? I whispered to Mamie and June. Yes, they both say at the same time. I looked one more time before taking my shot, and then wound up and drilled Butch with the message on the rock, right below his left butt cheek. He flinched pretty badly when the rock hit him, but he didn't draw any other attention to himself. He looked at the rock, picked it up, took off the band, and read the note. He looked up at where we were standing. Mamie waved to him and mimicked writing a note back. He nods and walks over to a shed. He disappears inside the shed for a few minutes, and when he returned from the shed, he had written his return message and threw the rock back at us. The wheels were in motion. It had been very dry that past summer, and there was still a province-wide forest fire alert. So I fully understand that what we did that night was incredibly reckless and dangerous, and not to mention illegal. But in my head, I heard the voices of all the human rights activists I'd ever heard, read, and in this case, the ends justified the means. We needed to create a diversion so that Butch would have time to escape, squeeze through the fence line, and meet us back at our communication point. I remembered something that I had done one time when a horde of bald-faced hornets took residence in a birdhouse in our backyard. They are super aggressive, and they kept stinging any dog, the cows, horses that were grazing the fields across the way, and any wild animal or person that was unfortunate enough to cross their path. I'm not normally one for extermination, but they drew first blood. I found a tiki torch fuel canister, lit the wick, and hucked it at the birdhouse, Molotov cocktail style. It knocked the birdhouse out of the tree and in moments ignited it into a minor inferno, a safe distance away from the tree itself. It eventually burned itself out, and I'm sure those little dudes were pissed. If it worked once, it could work again. Only this time, it was dark, and my garbage eyesight was even more compromised at night. So I needed June to be my eyes so that I could hit the target, a pile of kindling that Butch had made from some of his sculptures and other woodwork projects. June and I made our way over to the other side of the dormitories where Butch had set up the target. Mamie stayed at the communication point to wait for Butch. We find the target, and June takes one more look to make sure the coast is clear. June says, "We're all clear. Lob that sucker over the fence. You got this." So I lit the tiki torch canister's wick, throw one of my famous drop pitches, and the lit canister lands directly in the middle of the kindling. In no time, all of the wood sculptures that the nuns made Butch carve ignited into flames. Shortly after that, we heard the fire alarm sound and we saw everybody start to evacuate the dormitories. June and I ran back to the communication point and met up with Mamie. A short while later, Butch showed up and had another little kid with him, one of his cousins from Port Alberni, who had been taken over a year ago. We get on the horses, me and Butch on one, June, Mamie, and the cousin on the other, and ride out to Cultus Lake completely undetected.